We just finished up the Square Enix conference and we got a big look at Guardians of the Galaxy. Today, I'm going to give you my first impressions and overall impressions of the Guardians of the Galaxy reveal that we got. Guess what? It ain't Marvel's Avengers. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the show. Welcome to Assemble. I'm Matt. Good to see you and good to have you here on the show with us today. We are breaking down a little bit of the Guardians of the Galaxy reveal that we did see from Square over at the conference at E3. I'm very excited about this because, like I said, it is not going to be Marvel's Avengers. It is not going to have anything to do with it. It's going to be a single player campaign focused on the Guardians, and more specifically, it is focused on Peter Quill as the main character that you are going to play. So let's get into the first impressions and overall impressions of the conference and of this whole piece they showed off. If you guys can do me a favor, if you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, subscribe to the channel because we're on our way to 3,000 subscribers, and thank you so much for your support on the show. We got two pieces of content when it comes to Guardians of the Galaxy, and I'm really happy overall with how they presented this. One, we got a kind of a little snippet 2-minute trailer followed by the full gameplay reveal and going more in depth for around 10-11 minutes. Full gameplay going through and showing off the story. I thought that this whole reveal was well done. I'm glad that they actually included some music in this, because for the Square conference overall, it was kind of a letdown in general, just in terms of not piping in actual music and copyright free music. They pulled it and they didn't add it in for other titles, so it kind of was awkward. At least here for Guardians, they did pepper in some music. What I saw on different streams and everything going on, and a lot of feedback, was that you're gonna have a really awesome soundtrack to go along with Guardians, because that's a huge piece to this franchise, is those giant mega 80s hits that we love, that we associate with it. So I'm excited for the soundtrack overall that we're going to get. What they showed and what they revealed was a lot more than what I expected. I thought we were gonna get just a 2-minute sizzle reel trailer followed by an announcement that this thing is gonna release in a year or two. We got really great news when it comes to this, and I was blown away at the fact that this title is going to be coming out this October for 2021 across consoles. That I thought is a huge deal, that Square is going to be able to put this thing out and it's ready to go, and we hadn't heard really much of anything for this game leading up to this moment. Having an October release is huge. So we know right off the bat that we are going to be playing as Star-Lord in the campaign, and it is going to be just story driven, focusing on him and obviously his relationship and everything with the Guardians. This has a lot of people feeling kind of sour, as well as maybe feeling okay and excited about it, that you don't get to play as the other Guardians of the Galaxy in there, so we won't be able to get our hands on Rocket and Drax and Gamora. But what I think is good is that if it is focusing on Quill as the main character that you're playing as, what I think is good and has me hopeful for quality of the game is that because you are only focusing on one character, they can put a lot of time and attention into that and making sure that it is not spread out too thin, where you have to build up story arcs for multiple characters, and that's a hard thing to do, to be able to have it kind of equally balanced and not feel like you're just kind of shuffling from one character to the other. Maybe you wanted more time with Rocket's missions, things like that. So because they are going for a story driven focus on Quill, I think that this is going to work out really well for this game. One thing that I wasn't totally blown away by, it could be the stream, it could be just what they presented, but I wasn't totally blown away by the graphics. When they showed any of the cutscenes with this and any of those story elements, I thought that it presented really well. I thought character models look good. I'm not 100% sold on Drax and how they went about his design. Let me know what you think in the comments. Which character stood out best to you for their overall design and how they looked? I thought Rocket looked good, Gamora looks good. They've taken their own twist and their own spin on how these characters look. So many of us are looking at the MCU, we also look at the comics, and we see how they've actually been created there. I like that they're taking their own spin on this, just like Square did with the Marvel's Avengers. I think that they look really good within the cutscenes, but for what we saw in actual gameplay, moment-to-moment gameplay that they showed off, I felt like it was a little lackluster, only because I felt it was a little hollow. We got to see a lot of stuff shown off when it comes to Peter's mechanics for shooting, his boosters, things like that. That all looked awesome. But the only thing that I thought that when they showed it off that didn't really blow me away was, again, the world and how kind of empty it felt like when they were kind of going to one area to the next. It could just be what they showed off. I'm sure it's going to work out really well, but I did feel like it wasn't really blowing me away from a graphic standpoint, looking at, Series X, PS5, and getting into that level of quality that we could expect. But it's early. We need more time. We need to get this game out in October, and I'm sure it's going to do very well. But graphically was the only thing that I wasn't totally sold on. Another piece that really stood out for me, voice acting and kind of the relationship and what they were showing off from a narrative side of things between all the characters. And this is what has me really excited for this game. I thought voice acting, it seems good. I think that we're going to have to get more familiar with the characters, how they sound and how they kind of feel, and they playing off each other. But what I really love that Square focused on for this reveal was the relationship that each character has with each other in the group. They did talk about how the Guardians in this storyline have been together for maybe a year. So everything's still kind of fresh and new at this point for them. And I love the dynamic that they are showing between all of the different characters together, how they will tease Rocket on one hand, how there's branching story elements where you can actually select different things and it'll have different reactions and different consequences with those characters based on your decisions. That stuff is really, really cool. I'm excited to see how they integrate all of that together, because I think that relationship piece is the core for Guardians as a team. And if they can nail that, and it looks like they're going to, then I am super excited for this. So I thought that that whole relationship, the actual branching story elements to it, I thought all of that came off really, really well in the presentation. And the last thing we're going to talk about is going to be just kind of the shooting mechanics and that moment-to-moment combat that we have, where we got to see Quill showing off kind of his blasters and the HUD, as well as just some of the moves that they can do, and incorporating in more of like Final Fantasy elements. You can actually revive your teammates, where we saw that one of them is down, bringing them back up, and being able to pull off just different combos and different move sets all together when you are taking on an enemy. I think that freshens it up. It differentiates itself from different games, from other titles out there. I think it's going to come off really well. Again, the presentation for this from Square, I think they pretty much nailed it. And I think that they even surprised at least me and other fans out there that we are getting this game this year. And we hadn't heard a lot about it. What I do want to know, and we will find out once we actually get to this game, is how long of a story is this going to be? What are we looking at from a campaign standpoint? They said that this is going to be just a single player narrative focused story game, which is great. I really hope that we are looking at a 15-hour, 20-hour campaign, because I don't believe we're going to get anything from a multiplayer side. We are just going to get a single-player story. That's great. I love me some single-player story, and its hot title coming from Square. I'll take it, but I wonder how long this story is going to be. Could it be 10 hours, 15, 20 hours? And is it gonna feel at all any rinse and repeat when it comes to boss fights or battles with just enemy to enemy? But we'll see once we actually get there. But what did you all think? What did you think of Guardians of the Galaxy, the presentation done by Square? I thought between this and Marvel's Avengers, which we'll talk about in the next episode, I thought that they did a way better job here of presenting this game. And it feels like they're learning a lot of lessons, Square is, from how they have handled Marvel's Avengers in the past. But it's not Marvel's Avengers, guys. It's a story. And there's just, I don't think there's microtransactions. I got another episode where I want to break down both of these things, kind of talking about both. But it's not Avengers. It's its own thing. It's got a story, and all the characters are there. And the music is going to be fantastic. There's a lot to like about this. A lot to be excited about. Good job on Square. I'm excited. I am totally picking this up. This was a big win for me at the conference overall. This was one of the games that I was waiting to see, and they surprised me by showing off way more than I expected. Like I said, thought I'd get a couple of minutes out of a trailer, but I think they nailed it. Let me know what you guys think. Did this work for you? What stood out to you? What did you think of the character models, the designs, the aesthetics, soundtrack that we're going to possibly get? Let me know. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. And as always, thank you all for assembling with us. See ya.